Italy has over 350 recognized pasta shapes, and every single one of them was engineered, not invented by accident, to carry a specific sauce in a specific way. Get one wrong and you're not just committing a culinary crime in the eyes of an Italian grandmother, you're actually ruining the dish from a physics standpoint. And that's not an exaggeration. The geometry of pasta is a serious field of study. Researchers at MIT actually published a paper on how pasta shapes interact with sauce, looking at surface area, curvature, and structural rigidity under heat. Pasta is engineering, and most Americans are doing it completely wrong. So here is every major pasta shape you need to know: what it is, where it comes from, and exactly what sauce it belongs with. By the end of this video, you will never cook the wrong pasta again. Let's start with the one everyone knows: spaghetti. Long, round, thin. The word literally means little strings in Italian. It comes from Naples in southern Italy, and it's been the dominant pasta shape in America since Italian immigrants brought it over in the early 1900s. Here's the thing most people get wrong: spaghetti is not designed for thick, chunky meat sauces. Its thin, round surface area is built for oil-based and smooth tomato sauces. That's why cacio e pepe works perfectly. The cheese and pepper bind to the strands. That's why aglio e olio is a spaghetti dish. A bolognese with spaghetti, the meat slides right off. You want a broader, flatter noodle for that. More on that in a second. Bucatini looks like spaghetti from a distance, but it has a tiny hole running through the center. Bucato means pierced in Italian. That hollow core actually does something. Sauce gets pulled up into it during cooking, so every bite has sauce both outside and inside the noodle. It's incredible with amatriciana, that Roman tomato and guanciale sauce, because the fat from the cured pork cheek gets sucked right in. Bucatini also holds up better to slightly thicker sauces than spaghetti because of its added weight and sturdiness. Capellini, also called angel hair, is the thinnest pasta shape on this list. We're talking 0.85 millimeters in diameter, paper thin. And because of that, it cooks in about 90 seconds in boiling water. Miss the window and it turns to mush instantly. Angel hair is for extremely light, almost broth-like sauces, fresh tomato, lemon and butter, or just high-quality olive oil and herbs. It cannot carry anything heavy. Treat it delicately, or don't use it at all. It means little worms, which is off-putting but accurate. Thicker than angel hair, thinner than spaghetti. In southern Italy, it's used with light seafood sauces, clam-style preparations, and fresh tomato. But here's where it gets interesting. In Southeast Asia, particularly Vietnam and Thailand, vermicelli refers to rice noodles used in dishes like bun bo hue and pad thai. Same name, completely different product. When you see vermicelli in an Italian context, you're getting wheat pasta. When you see it in an Asian recipe, you're likely looking at rice or mung bean noodles. Linguine means little tongues. Flat but narrow, think spaghetti that got pressed slightly. That flattened shape gives it more surface area than round spaghetti, which makes it exceptional with clam sauce, pesto, and seafood preparations where the sauce is thin but needs to cling to something. Linguine alle vongole. Clam linguine is probably its greatest achievement, and if you've never made it at home, you're missing out on one of the fastest, most impressive 20-minute pasta dishes on earth. Fettuccine is broader than linguine. Flat ribbons, about a 1/4 inch wide. The name means little ribbons. It's the classic pairing for Alfredo, the real Alfredo, which is just butter, pasta water, and Parmesan, not the cream-heavy version Americans are used to. The broad, flat surface area holds that rich, fatty coating beautifully. Fettuccine also pairs well with mushroom ragouts and heavier cream sauces because the width gives the sauce something to rest on. And that brings us to tagliatelle, which looks nearly identical to fettuccine, but is actually from a different region entirely. Fettuccine is Roman. Tagliatelle is from Bologna and Emilia-Romagna in northern Italy. And tagliatelle is the pasta that bolognese was actually created for. The Italian Academy of Cuisine, yes, that's a real institution, literally registered the official width of tagliatelle in 1972. It should be exactly 8 millimeters when cooked, which is said to be equivalent to 1/12 the height of the Asinelli Tower in Bologna. That is a level of specificity that borders on obsession, and it is magnificent. The reason tagliatelle works with bolognese and spaghetti doesn't is texture. Tagliatelle is egg-based, slightly porous and rough on the surface. Sauce catches in it. Spaghetti is smooth. Bolognese slides right off. Pair your bolognese with tagliatelle, and your life changes. Pappardelle is wider still. Big, broad ribbons. A Tuscan pasta, traditionally served with wild boar ragu, braised duck, or any intensely flavored slow-cooked meat sauce. The width, we're talking close to 1 inch across, means it can stand up to the most aggressive, heavy sauces without getting buried. If you're making a 4-hour Sunday ragu, pappardelle is your answer. Now let's switch gears. Because we're leaving the long pasta world entirely and moving into short pasta. And this is where things get really interesting. Penne is probably America's most misunderstood pasta shape. The name means quills, named after old-fashioned writing quills because of its cut ends. Penne comes in two versions, penne lisse, which is smooth, and penne rigate, which has ridges. Always buy rigate. The ridges aren't decorative, they create grip. Sauce clings to rigate. It slides off lisse. Penne belongs with chunky, medium-bodied sauces like arrabbiata, vodka sauce, or anything with vegetables and chunks of ingredient that can get caught in the tube. The hollow center is key. Sauce goes in, sauce stays in. Rigatoni is penne's bigger, bolder cousin. Wider, shorter, deeply ridged and slightly curved. A Roman pasta through and through, traditionally served with alla vaccinara, a braised oxtail sauce, or pasta alla norma, with roasted eggplant and ricotta salata. The wide opening means big chunks of meat and vegetable can actually get inside the tube. You're not just coating rigatoni, you're stuffing it naturally, with every forkful. Cavatappi, sometimes called celentani, looks like a corkscrew tube. The name literally means corkscrew in Italian. It's got ridges, it's got a hollow center, and it's got curves. That combination creates one of the highest sauce retention surfaces of any pasta shape on the market. Every angle, every spiral, every ridge is a place where sauce grabs and holds. Cavatappi is incredible in baked pasta dishes and mac and cheese because it survives the oven without going mushy, and every bite is loaded. Fusilli are the tight spirals, the ones that look like a phone cord from the 1980s. The name comes from the Italian word for spindle. Originally, they were made by pressing pasta dough around a thin rod and rolling it rapidly. The spiral structure isn't just visual, it's functional. Creamy sauces, pesto, and chunky vegetable sauces get trapped in every groove. Fusilli freddo, cold fusilli pasta salad, is one of the best applications because the sauce doesn't slip away even after the pasta cools. Rotini are shorter and less tightly wound than fusilli, more of a corkscrew than a full spiral. They're lighter than fusilli and work well in pasta salads and lighter cream sauces. In American grocery stores, rotini and fusilli are often confused or mislabeled, but now you know the difference. Farfalle, the bow ties. The name means butterflies in Italian. They look playful and they are playful, but there's a structural challenge. The pinched center is twice as thick as the outer wings, which means when the wings are perfectly cooked, the center is still slightly firm. Some people hate that. Others consider it the best textural experience in pasta. Farfalle works best in lighter sauces, salmon cream, fresh tomato, or even just tossed with prosciutto and peas, because the sauce sits on the flat wings without needing to penetrate anything. Heavy ragus overwhelm it. Conchiglie means shells, and if you look at them, the name is obvious. The curved shell shape acts as a literal cup. Small conchiglie are incredible in soups and with chunky sauces because the sauce pools inside the shell and gets delivered to your tongue in a concentrated burst. Larger conchiglie, the jumbo ones, can actually be stuffed with ricotta and baked similar to how you'd use manicotti. The shape is its own serving vessel. Orecchiette is one of the most distinctive shapes on this list, and one of the hardest to make by hand. The name means little ears, and that cup disc shape is specific to Puglia, the heel of Italy's boot. Traditional orecchiette are made by dragging a small disc of dough across a rough wooden board with a knife, which creates that characteristic texture, rough on one side, smooth on the other. That rough texture is critical. It grabs sauce like Velcro. The classic dish is orecchiette with broccoli rabe and Italian sausage, where the bitter greens and fatty pork get caught in every cup. A regional dish that became a national obsession. Maltagliati. If there's one shape on this list that most Americans have never heard of, it's this one. The name means badly cut, and that's exactly what they are. Irregular, rough, uneven scraps of pasta dough, no two pieces alike. Traditionally, maltagliati were the product of pasta-making leftovers. The irregular bits cut from the edges of sheets used to make other shapes. Rather than waste them, Italian home cooks threw them in the pot. Today they're made intentionally, usually served with bean soups like pasta e fagioli or with rustic vegetable sauces. The rough, uneven edges catch everything. It's chaos, and it works beautifully. Stracciapreti, priest stranglers. Yes, that's the actual translation. The story goes that these rolled pasta twists were so delicious that greedy local priests would eat too fast and choke. Whether that's true or not, it's a fantastic story. Stracciapreti are hand-rolled twists, slightly thicker than fusilli, with a rough, porous surface that grips sauce aggressively. Popular in Emilia-Romagna and Tuscany, usually served with meat ragus or hearty mushroom sauces. Now the tube shapes built for stuffing. Cannelloni are large, hollow tubes designed to be filled. You pipe in a filling, classically ricotta and spinach or a ground meat mixture. Cover them with bechamel and tomato sauce, and bake them until the whole thing is bubbling and golden. Cannelloni are essentially the Italian equivalent of enchiladas in terms of structural logic. A vessel built for filling, covered in sauce, finished in the oven. Lasagna. Flat, wide sheets, layered in a baking dish with sauce, cheese, and meat, then baked low and slow. What most Americans don't realize is that traditional lasagna from Bologna, lasagna al forno, uses egg pasta sheets, bolognese, and bechamel. No ricotta. That ricotta and mozzarella lasagna you find at every Italian-American restaurant is a variation that developed in the United States. Neither is wrong, but now you know what you're actually eating. Ditalini means little thimbles. Small, short tubes, barely half an inch long. They are built for soup. Pasta e fagioli, pasta and beans, is ditalini's defining moment. The small tubes slip onto the spoon right alongside a bean, and you get pasta and broth in every single bite. Ditalini doesn't belong in a sauce bowl, it lives in a bowl of soup. Orzo looks like rice, but it's pasta. Made from semolina wheat, shaped like a large grain of rice, orzo sits in a very specific lane. It works in soups, salads, and as a side dish cooked risotto style. When you cook it with stock and finish it with butter and parmesan, you get something called orzotto, and it is one of the most underrated weeknight dinners in existence. Gnocchi. Technically pasta, though people argue about this constantly. Traditional gnocchi are made from potatoes, flour, and egg, pressed into small pillows and boiled. The best gnocchi should be light and pillowy. If yours feel like rubber erasers, you work the dough too long. The three classic sauces, brown butter and sage, gorgonzola cream, and a simple tomato sauce, each one works because gnocchi have a soft, porous surface that takes sauce in quickly. Here's what this entire video proves, and this is the part most people walk away from without fully absorbing. The shape is the recipe. Italian pasta culture didn't develop 350 shapes because cooks were bored. Each one was refined over generations based on one question: how do we make the sauce stay on the pasta? Every curve, ridge, tube, twist, and fold is an answer to that question. When you match the shape to the sauce correctly, the flavors intensify, the pasta carries more. The dish becomes more than the sum of its parts. So the next time you're standing in the pasta aisle staring at a wall of shapes, stop grabbing whatever's familiar. Look at what sauce you're making. Chunky meat, rigatoni or pappardelle. Oil-based and light, spaghetti or linguine. Creamy in coating, fettuccine or cavatappi. Soup, ditalini or orzo. Baked, cannelloni or lasagna. The shape tells you everything. And here's something to sit with. We only covered 23 shapes today, and Italy has over 350. There are shapes out there named after priests, radiators, thimbles, and even a shape said to look like the hair of a Venetian senator. So tell me in the comments, what's the most obscure pasta shape you've ever cooked with, and what did you make? I genuinely want to know. If you found this useful, hit that like button and share it with someone who always grabs the wrong pasta, which honestly is most people. And make sure you're subscribed, because next week we're getting into the science of why your pasta water should taste like the ocean, and what actually happens to the noodle when you salt it right. That one will surprise you.